Draft rumors heating up for Charlotte with the draft next week. We've talked about the Hornets moving back in the draft. What about trading up? We'll discuss all of that today and this.
Alex Sarr or it's Ricochet. I don't know why.
Ricochet.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We are free and available anywhere you get your podcast. That includes YouTube. There's Doug Branson rocking out. His substack is everyhornetsboxscore.com. I think your stash is extra stashing today. Feels strong.
No. See what it is? It's like one of those eye tricks where you look at the white space, and it's sometimes it's an old lady and sometimes it's a young woman. So what's going on here is that sometimes I let the 5 o'clock shadow grow out, and then it is not as accentuated. But then I clean it up and it's like bam.
You're saying your stash is an optical illusion, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly. That's exactly
strong.
What I'm saying.
It looks strong, looks fantastic.
And if you're watching on YouTube and you cross your eyes a little bit, it turns into a dolphin.
I don't see it. I'm Walker Mail. I don't have a mustache. I can't grow one at all. In fact, I can, however, grow a trash stash. You can't see any of it, though, because, well, I do radio. Listen to me on radio, sports radio, 92.7 WFNZ. Follow me on Twitter, @Walker Mail. By the way, did want to tell you, not necessarily just about mustaches, but I did want to tell you this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Doug, we got a report from Kelly Iko. Iko, I'm going to say Iko. He covers the Houston Rockets for The Athletic. We've had him on Wes and Walker before. Credible dude, okay? So he
no nicknames for Iko or Iko.
No, nothing like that. No boo-woo, no phony gavoni. This is straight up his name. Stuff. We respect his name. And he's got something that I would consider, is it like, I don't know, the juiciest? Like real, it feels like it's something legit nugget on the Hornets so far. It's the juiciest to me in a while.
Well, in the desert, anything is going to be a refreshing drink. The Hornets have been a bit of a black box, a mystery as to what they are going to do, who they are going to pick, if they were going to pick at all, if they're going to make a trade, if they're going to be good, if they're going to be bad, if they're going to be happy, if they're going to be sad.
Oh, yeah.
We just don't know. And so anything from Iko or Iko is going to make me smile-o.
Getting loose on Dr. Seuss with Doug Branson. Here's what Kelly Iko of The Athletic writes. The assumption of a team holding leverage, especially in a class without a consensus number one pick, and a franchise picking outside the top two, could be seen as exaggerated. But recently, the Rockets brass has been made aware of certain draft-centric aspects, rapidly growing interest in Connecticut's Donovan Clingan, and Kentucky's Reed Shepard, and the desire of rival teams to jump ahead of the Spurs, who hold the number 4 and number 8 picks. There have been several teams that have expressed a desire to move to number 3, but there are 3 teams, according to team and league sources, that have been most vocal. Memphis, Portland, the Charlotte Hornets. The Grizzlies and the Hornets in particular have been rather aggressive in their hopes of acquiring the number 3 pick. Sources said to Kelly Iko, end quote. That's why it's the juiciest to me. I'll throw it to you. What do you make of Kelly's report here?
So on the one hand, this surprises me that they would be considering moving up, because to move up, you may have to relinquish well, not even may. I mean, you're going to have to relinquish something of value, whether that be in a sign and trade scenario for a player if the Rockets are looking to get good quickly. Maybe it involves Miles Bridges, but you're probably either going to have to take back a bad asset or give up one of the assets that you've acquired through your own trades. And that surprises me because I thought that this team seemed to be in asset acquisition mode. On the other hand, it doesn't surprise me, Walker, because this is the first draft for a new front office. Mm-hmm. And I think there's always a human tendency to want to play the game. When given an opportunity to think long-term or short-term, we are human animals. We want to play the game, and I think that urge is even more intense when it's your first crack at it. And so I think that all of the front offices, not just Charlotte, are looking at this draft and saying, everybody keeps saying this is a weak draft, but it's the Arrested Development meme, right? Where the guy says, everybody keeps tricking themselves into thinking this is going to work. Well, what about us? Maybe if it's us, it could work, right? I butchered that meme, but it's that idea, like, this is a weak draft, but you know what? I think we can find the gem. And so this, in a lot of ways, this doesn't surprise me if the Hornets do try this, because you do have a new front office who is probably chomping at the bit to make their impact immediately.
Especially if we consider this front office as innovative and new age thinking, which often lends itself to analytics, thinking more on the lines of advanced metrics. So, of course, you wouldn't want to trade up. You don't want to give up assets to move up in a fickle draft, just 3 spots ahead, because you could trade back, collect more assets, and then take whoever is there. Or if you wanted to trade up, then you could take the most analytics-friendly player in the draft. And so I'm totally with you. On one hand, it makes sense. On one hand, it doesn't, and there are a couple of different avenues to take for both of those ways to both of those destinations.
It is scary. I will give everyone that. To move up in a draft that a lot of analysts are calling weak is scary, but you don't know exactly what that package would look like. It doesn't mean that the Hornets are going to give up one of those vaunted first-round picks that they acquired from Miami or from Dallas. It doesn't mean any of that. We don't know what it would look like. We don't even know if they can compete, because there are a lot of other teams with better players for sign and trade scenarios. For example, Cleveland with Donovan Mitchell. We don't know if Mitchell wants to sign there long-term. That could be an option. I think there are teams that could outbid the Hornets, so we don't even know if this is really a realistic possibility. But also, look, there is a chance that the Hornets, they take control of this situation. They go to 3, and I know in the next segment we're going to talk about just exactly who they could target in that scenario. But there is a chance that they go and get that player, and that player turns out to be a star. I mean, if you don't play the game, you don't have a chance to win.
Plus, who could they give up outside of that first-round pick that you're talking about? If they're not going to get rid of one of the assets they collected at the trade deadline, who is it they could give up? Find out next on Locked On Hornets.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
I think I may have already said it. I may have given it away, but if you weren't listening carefully, well...
I don't think you did. If so,
Okay.
maybe I wasn't listening carefully. Okay. Both are entirely possible. We'll get to who you could give up to go get that number 3 overall pick, who exactly it is that they're targeting, and whether we like this idea even further. All still to come here at LOH. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time? Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, which procrastination actually helps you in this scenario. Who would have thought? With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. You have priority last-minute deals, flash deals, zone deals, plenty of deals if you haven't caught on yet. All-in pricing, seat view, so you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, and Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and then redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Doug, you wanted to lead off with a question before we dove a little deeper into the trade-up scenario.
Well, yeah, I think this rumor begs the question, and I know a lot of listeners probably have this question. Why are the Hornets even, or any team, considering moving up to 3, taking away the fact that, like, yes, Houston has been widely rumored to be wanting to trade this pick. So the availability is there. But why in this particular draft, the way it's been constructed so far, would someone want to move to 3?
Safety. It's the Wild West in this draft. And if you feel like there is a guy with a high floor and a decent enough ceiling that you're not going to get destroyed or ridiculed if you get this thing wrong, then you want to go up and get that guy. And that, to me, I think matches who Kelly Iko mentions in this write-up. It's Donovan Clingan, who seems pretty safe to me, and Reed Shepard, who does seem pretty safe to me. Maybe there's a little bit more debate with the latter, but those guys seem like the safer prospects given just the overall size of Clingan, and we saw what he could do defending the rim. And somebody that shot 50% from three, 52 to be exact, on 4 attempts per game, we know that that's going to be a valuable skill set. I think that's the reason, Doug. If you're trading up to 3, it's because you want to mitigate any doubt about a player and you're scared to death. Maybe there is a little bit of scared money don't make none here, and in a weird way you're trading up to go get that guy, but I think safety is the reason.
Yeah, I think for some teams it could be about Clingan, although Clingan is getting some interest by Atlanta at 1. So if you really want safety and assurances there, you're going to have to either trade Atlanta for 1, which I don't think anyone is going to do, or you are going to have to wait until that first pick comes down and it's, Alex Sarr or it's Richache. I don't know why.
Richache.
I don't know why that bothered me there. So you're going to have to wait and see, how that falls and if Clingan is going to be an opportunity. For the Hornets and for some other teams, I think it's not even going to be about Atlanta or Washington. It's going to be about San Antonio at 4.
Yeah.
Because San Antonio needs guard play. They need players to pair with Victor Wembanyama to get Victor Wembanyama the ball. And so Reed Shepard and Stephon Castle both present San Antonio with that opportunity. So if you want access to either one of those players, I don't think San Antonio is going to give up that pick. You've got to go to Houston and get 3. That's why.
Yeah, and at least for the Hornets, it's not a huge jump to go up to number 3 and jump the Spurs. I mean, in 3 spots, it's decent amount, but not really, right? You would go up and then you would jump the Spurs, as you mentioned, and get that player that you think is one of the safer prospects. Do you want to go with who the Hornets might target with that 3rd overall selection?
Sure, let's do it.
So we did mention the prospects here. You could bring in some other outside guys. Maybe it's smokescreen season, so much so that the Hornets have everybody fooled in who they would be trading up
Dalton
for.
Connect at 3.
That's right.
Make the connection. Oh, that would be.
You had no clue.
That would be wild.
You had zero clue. You're all fools for thinking the Hornets were interested in Reed Shepard or Clingan. I don't think that you would trade up to go get Clingan, Doug. I think the fact that you have Mark Williams and I get it. The reason to get Clingan is because you would be scared about Mark Williams' health. To me, that's a lot in the we'll just go with 2 centers trading up to number 3 to go get that guy rather than have him, fall to 6. If he falls to 6 and you think he's the better prospect, okay, that makes more sense to me. If you trade up to 3 and then select him despite having Mark Williams already on the roster, that doesn't make any sense. I'm going with Reed Shepard as the pretty clear target. And the Hornets have done a good job of not letting the cat out of the bag. This is, they were pretty good at it in previous seasons. Mitch Kupchak wasn't exactly the most open, nor was the front office. Here, we haven't really known. Most people said they have no clue what they want. Feels like Reed Shepard is the guy that they covet more than anybody else here, Doug.
And I think Reed is the guy that has jumped beyond the 6th pick. Stephon Castle, certainly, I've seen him mocked at 4. I've seen him mocked at 5 occasionally, although that's mainly been Buzelis. I don't think you trade up for Buzelis. So I think you're right. I think it is Reed Shepard. And on the Clingan point, you absolutely don't trade up for Clingan because in an offseason so far where the Hornets have been very careful about what communications they have released, one of them has been that, or at least it's been reported that they view Mark Williams as part of the core. And then there was that video that I don't think the Hornets had anything to do with it, but there was video where Mark Williams was essentially saying, I'm good, I'm healthy. And so, I think that I'm pretty clear, I'm pretty solid on them wanting to move forward with Mark Williams. Now, I don't think that should preclude them from looking at Clingan if both Shepard and Castle were to go before the 6th pick. If they wanted to look at Clingan as depth, I don't think that should preclude them from doing that. But if you're moving up to 3, I think you're absolutely moving up for Reed Shepard, who is one of the most sure bets offensively that the upper part of this draft offers. With
as much as you can be in this draft,
Yeah. And we can dig down into what maybe some of the pluses and minuses on Reed Shepard. I do think there is a possibility that this is all for Castle, because I think Castle, that San Antonio could look at Castle at 4 just as well as they could look at Reed Shepard. And, again, Detroit's sitting there at 5 as well. So, I think Castle could be a smokescreen option here. But either way, I think the Hornets are definitely looking for more guard play here.
Do you want to share your Reed Shepard take before we go to who you would give up? Because we've heard your analysis. I don't know if we have your take. And we know we need the takes in the pod and the radio business. So what's your Reed Shepard, Hornets selecting him at 6 or trading up for 3? What's the take on Reed?
So my take is that I am legitimately concerned about a Hornets team that needs to size up, that needs to get more physical, taking someone that clocks in at 6'2". Now, I know that he can jump out of the gym. I've seen all of the videos of him, jumping and blocking a shot in the corner when he takes off from the block. Like, I know this guy plays bigger. But at the same time, I'm actually concerned that his size won't be as much of a detriment to him defensively as it will be offensively. I think, look, his shooting, there's not a question about that. The question becomes, can he expand his offensive game beyond that, develop a versatile star-level bag at his diminutive, not only just, tall, but also, just his diminutive size in general? Is he going to be able to, get off the first step and fight through contact and get to the rim? Does he have that kind of layup package already installed, or is that something that's going to have to develop? I think there are serious questions about that. And so when you're talking about moving up, giving up assets, going to 3, investing that much in a pick like that, money too, because the third pick, that it really escalates as you move up the top 10 picks. So giving up that kind of, future money too, I think it's all very interesting. But that's kind of my take on Reed. If you're the Hornets and you take Reed, you better spend the next season to 2 seasons getting rid of everyone that's 6'4" and under and acquiring as many 6'6" guys and above as you can to complement the fact that, not only are you going to have Reed Shepard at 2, but that means you've got Brandon at 3. And in the short term, Brandon, I'm going to be on super muscle watch because he's going to have to bulk up quick.
Yeah. Diminutive size? Are you calling him a minion? Is that what you're doing?
I said diminutive.
No, I know. I'm saying we should change
small.
it. Diminutive. Yes, because he's
diminutive.
Really,
he's not small and yellow and talks gibberish. That would be diminutive. Then I would be really worried. It'd be cute, be fun to watch. My kid would certainly be into it. Not me.
I mean, he's got the wingspan of a minion. That's the problem, too.
See, that's what I'm saying. I always worry about T-Rex arms. I always worry about the T-Rex arms.
I know. I worry about it, too. Let's talk more about Reed Shepard and the guy that would be going to Houston in this potential scenario. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
I told you I have Reed Shepard number 1 on my realistic big board for a reason. I'll tell you a little more as to why. Plus, who's the guy going to Houston in this one? We'll discuss it all coming up next. Last segment, Locked On Hornets. Before we do all of that, of course, I want to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. With the finals over, the hoops action doesn't really stop on Prize Picks either. Women's basketball is still heating up with stars like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, looking to make names for themselves alongside greats like Breanna Stewart and A'ja Wilson. You can win up to 100 times your cash watching them ball out. Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including Cali, Texas, and Georgia. So make sure you get in on Prize Picks wherever you are in the country, involving more than 30 states. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONNBA on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. One more segment to go. Locked On Hornets. You mentioned it being scary, trading up for Reed Shepard. Totally agree with you. And again, he's number one on the guys that I would draft if I'm the Charlotte Hornets. Number one above everybody else. But this entire process is scary. I am not comforted with any selection that they make at 6, and certainly not giving up assets to go get whoever they view as their guy at number 3. The reasons I like Reed Shepard: the shooting, self-explanatory, movement shooting, off of ball screens, catch and shoot in particular, LaMelo Ball kick out, Brandon Miller having the secondary playmaking, like all of that stuff. I think defensively, yes, he's going to get bullied sometimes. I think he has good enough instincts, even with him, not being the greatest team defender. There are some problems there too. I think on ball, he moves his feet well enough to navigate some screens, but yeah, it's not going to be pretty. It's not a crazy strong suit, but I don't think he's a minus defender. Offensively, yeah, you're right. Like going off of screens as a pick and roll ball handler, can you see over the defense to make passes all the way to the corner? He loves doing it. But again, that's at the college level where the guys aren't nearly as big. And of course, you have to go up in athleticism, which means the 42-inch max vert probably doesn't help him as much in the NBA as it does in college, even if that's a really nice thing to work with. I do think he's a plus passer. And the left-handed full court dimes are actually pretty ridiculous. He's a right-handed player, but Doug, I trust his left hand hardcore. Like, this is classic Jeff Shepard, old basketball player working on the fundamentals, making your son do everything with his left hand. You see that in his game. And I'm talking dimes, full court, cross half court, love all of that. Hezzy off the dribble, like there's different angles that he maneuvers past his defenders. I think he's good enough. I think he's good enough in that regard to where I'd be worried about having him as a primary playmaker. That would scare me to draft him as your number one starting point guard. But that's LaMelo. I think he's good enough to be secondary, tertiary, which does fit pretty damn well with LaMelo and Brandon. That's my analysis, my scouting report in a nutshell on Reed Shepard.
I think how you feel about Reed Shepard is going to be highly dependent on how you felt about Terry Rozier. Because Terry Rozier was 6'1", 190, or is 6'1", 190. He's not dead. Say was. 6'1", 190. But he had incredible athleticism. He had he was a good passer. He could run an offense, and he had an incredible layup package that we always took for granted.
And that got better, by the way, too. It wasn't that got a lot better as his career
and he
went on.
was strong.
Yeah.
He got, and I don't, I'd have to look at him in college and his first few years in the league and see if maybe his body type matched Reed Shepard a little bit and if he got stronger as he went on. But he was, especially up top, he was strong. He could fight through those screens. And so those are all my questions. But then if you answer in the affirmative to all of those questions, you still land at a backcourt that is a little bit reminiscent of a backcourt that couldn't get through a play-in. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
sure.
I think a lot of people want to see the Hornets, with a big 2 and a big 3. And this would be sizing down at the 2 once again. Does that work? Can you make that work? Can you make that a playoff winner? Now, and I'm not even talking about next season. I'm talking about as you develop these 3 players and you really functionally, Mark Williams is going to be a part of your core, but functionally your team becomes about LaMelo Ball, player you take at 3 overall, and Brandon Miller. Can you make that work?
Worse handles than Terry, better defender by a decent amount, in my opinion, potentially, than what Terry could be. But you're right. There's offensively, there might be some similarities there. You want to talk about the guy going out?
Yeah, so. guy. Well, you think, would there be a player going out? Or because if it's not a player, Walker, then you have to give up a first. I think you almost have to give up a first round. You have to pay some kind of premium, and if it's not going to be a player, then it's got to be a significant asset. You're not going to get away with 3 second rounders or something.
This has Miles Bridges written all over it. Makes all the sense in the world. Think it makes it's a total fit for Houston as far as them looking to trade out, improve their talent on the roster, help them win now, get over the hump with some scoring prowess, some help elsewhere on their roster. So if you were the Hornets and the Rockets trying to grease the wheels and make a trade happen, you would swap 6 and 3. And then you would give them Miles Bridges to help them win now. Sign and trade scenario, of course, because he's not under contract with the Hornets right now. And then with any kind of salary filler We can look at the Rockets' payroll. Maybe you get there by including Steven Adams for center depth because they have Şengün. So bring us back Steven Adams. Bring us one more year left on Jeff Green's deal. One more year left on Adams' deal, too. So Adams, Jeff Green, and then the salary filler, however, that would work out. I don't think Dillon Brooks would be included here. It would be hilarious, but he's like 20 million, 22. They just brought him over. Would be funny. But Doug, to me, with what the Rockets have been reported for wanting, with them having so many reports surrounding them wanting to win now, right? Get to the postseason next year. We're done being in asset collection mode. Yeah, man, Miles Bridges makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, well, you wonder with Amen Thompson if they want to make some room in that backcourt, for him, and then maybe bring in some other guys as well. I don't know. Would
Jalen Green, I think Jalen Green was strong enough last year to where they the trading him out isn't really there anymore. But yeah.
Yeah, so I think I would disagree. I think Dillon Brooks, maybe they're regretting the length of that contract and the size of that contract. And again, if you're the Hornets, if you want to move up, the premium could be taking back an asset that's going to hurt you financially long term. Now, if you add Dillon to a team with Grant Williams, you are now working on becoming one of the most annoying teams in the NBA, right? You've got a lot of players that a lot of players in the NBA don't particularly care for. That's an identity. That's an attitude. It's always that situation where you like the guy because he's on your team, but nobody else likes the guy.
Right.
I would give you, I don't know if you would you improve defensively? You would get more tenacity. You would certainly get someone that looks looks like they're playing better defense, has a desire to get out there and do something. What's Dillon Brooks' size? What are we working with here? What are we talking about? He's talking about 6'6", 220. See, 6'6". That's what I'm saying. You got to enter 6'6", exit 6'3" and under.
Yeah. No, I think you would get better defensively with Dillon Brooks.
Dillon the Villain is the nickname here on basketball.
Right. So I think, to me, would you make that trade, Doug? So for all intents and purposes, Miles Bridges in 6 for number 3, basically Reed Shepard and salary filler. Are you doing that?
Sure. Yeah. Me? Yes. Because I want the Hornets to do something. I want them to maximize the ability for this team to make a postseason while LaMelo Ball is under contract. The sooner you can, to me, the sooner you get these guys play, even if it's a play-in game, postseason experience, the better. This idea, we want to build a sustainable, make sure. No, none of that. We got to get rid of that. That was old style thinking. These guys are young, they're creative, they want to do something. I say yes, make moves, and I would rather, honestly, the Hornets move up if they're super confident about a guy, if they've scouted this player, if they just know for a fact that this player is going to be a winner. I would rather them make that confident move as opposed to kicking the can down the road till next year, particularly because we know these players have worked out. It would be a completely different scenario if everyone was avoiding Charlotte in terms of workouts and they wanted to go get a player who they had never seen. It's a little bit what happened with Malik Monk. They decided to go with Malik Monk. Malik Monk didn't work out for them. So if they've gotten a chance to see these players and they're still super confident, honestly, I'm at the point now, Walker, where I'm like, you know what? If you want to do something, if you want to take the risk, because it is a risk, because you go out there, you trade up, and it fails, it's going to be squarely on you. If you want to take that risk, so be it. Let's get risky, baby.
Reed Shepard worked out with the Hornets, according to that latest ESPN mock, alongside Stephon Castle. I don't think at the same time, right? But they both worked out for the Hornets. I can imagine people falling in love with Reed because in an open gym, if you have Zach Edey and Donovan Clingan hitting threes with nobody guarding them, Reed Shepard hit threes with people guarding him. Is he just going 25 of 25 in these workouts and then just blowing them all out of the water? So I could absolutely see that.
Well, and if you're not going to go 5 out, if you're not in free agency or trades or in draft, if you are really not going to explore a center that you can pair with Mark Williams that is going to be able to extend the floor other than Grant Williams in those kind of small ball minutes, if you're not going to do that, if you're going to hang with Nick Richards, then you better 1 through 4 have knockdown shooters. If you're not going to go 5 out, you better go 4 out and mean it. And getting Reed Shepard, not Stephon Castle, big questions there on his shot, but Reed Shepard, no questions. That's 4 out and you mean it.
pretty ridiculous percentages across the board. LaMelo, Brandon, Reed in this scenario. Grant Williams at 4. Yeah, man. Mark Williams down low. I like it. I like the idea. We'll see what happens.
And we talked a lot about, the defense, the physicality, the size that Boston had that won them a championship. But you talked about this. What also won them the championship is every time they came down the floor, they took a 3. And more often than not, they made it.
Yeah. Lots of
that'll help.
shooting.
Reed will help you do that.
If you can get Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum or Derek White or Drew Holiday in this draft, then you take that guy. I will settle for Reed Shepard, though. That's fine. That'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods, including YouTube. Go check out everyhornetsboxscore.com. Check out WFNZ Wes and Walker, 12 to 3 every day. We appreciate you helping us out here. And we'll see you tomorrow and do some more draft talk.